So at Visual Captive, we find ourselves often traveling, which means we need to build very portable, compact lighting kits. And one of the things we've built over the years is a really cool compact hair light setup that I want to show you today. So we use a classic like boom pole holder for like your boom mic, but we combine it with what is a hiking pole, but also could be argued to be a boom pole as well. So this just extends out, as you can imagine, it keeps going. And on the end, we have a quarter 20 that can screw into an Aputure MC. So I'll show you the setup here in a second, but we use the boom cradle here to hold the hair light in place. So instead of having like a big boom arm that's hard to travel with, they're super heavy, we have a lightweight boom here that can work with a lightweight light. So obviously you wouldn't want to put like a giant light on here like a 300D, but it works really well for compact lights like an MC Pro. And I'll show you that setup here. The other thing we travel with is actually this compact Matthews grip head, and this smaller one is nice because it's plastic, so it's a little bit lighter weight, and we typically use it on a Matthews reverse stand. So this is a reverse stand that's super compact. The legs actually open up to be wider than a C stand would normally be. So this is our typical travel stand with this whole setup mounted on here. I'm gonna demo it here on a C stand just so you can see how this would work. So our grip head would go on here, and then we have the cradle that I was just showing you going in. And here is our boom setup. Let me just change the weight here. Just gotta get it balanced. So when there's no weight on here, it can be a little loose, but we often, once you have your light mounted on the end and a counterweight on here, this will hold just okay. So the MC we're using, if you're not familiar with from Aputure, is these small square lights. And this is the Aputure MC. So this is a tiny light, and it has a quarter 20 on the bottom that we thread in to the back of or onto the end of this boom pole. So for interviews, a lot of what we're filming is interviews. The battery in this would not last long enough. So what we actually do with that is we run about a 20-foot USB-C cable with a power block straight to the light. So we treat it more like a traditional light that's plugged into the wall at all times. So on the end of the boom pole would be the light, long 20-foot power cable going into the wall. We can run this setup all day long for multiple hours doing interviews. I'm gonna get it rigged up and show you how that looks once it's all assembled. The nice thing with the Aputure MCs is they have a bunch of different diffusion options. So this is a thinner one that we can use that just goes on like a magnet. So for a hair light, or even if you're using it as a fill light, it's a nice soft source. But Aputure also makes this dome diffusion, which is where you can really start to get into a nice soft source as well for a fill light or an underlight for a beauty light, hair light as well. Sometimes this loses too much power though, so we don't always use it because the output drops too much, and we use one of the other diffusion options that come with the light when you buy it. So this would be what the setup would look like when the Aputure MC is mounted to the end of the boom pole. As you can see, our USB-C cable runs all the way along the pole. I have it shortened up right now so that you can see what I'm doing, but this can be fully extended. It gets to about 6 feet, so it's long enough to get it behind someone's head if they're in a sit-down interview. And like I mentioned, this can be run for hours at a time, no power issues. If you did want it to be a softer source, we can still mount this dome on the end and get a nice soft source even like this. We've had times where we've used this setup vertical and just had it on a stand as a fill light when we're using a really compact setup. Compact kits like this are super versatile because you can bring a lot of lights with you in your travel kit. Our travel kit actually contains about 6 different light heads with a 200X in there, a 60X, a couple of these MCs, some light tubes, and a flexible mat. And you can use these for anything from a fill light to a hair light. Sometimes we use it as like an underlight for like a beauty light on someone's face, or even lighting up a room all around. The cool thing about using the USB-C cable is that you can run this light for hours at a time. Traditionally, I avoided these lights because they could only run for an hour and a half at full power, maybe 2 hours, and a lot of our interviews can go much longer than that. But now that we figured out a power solution for it, I treat it just like any other light in my kit. So this is a Matthews reverse stand, which is one of the primary stands we travel with. They fold down into a very compact design, and what's great about them is that when the legs are fully spread open, it has a wider base than even a C stand. Let me show you how this stand works. So the reason for its name is it kind of reverses, the legs reverse down, so they fold all the way down like this. And the great thing is the leg diameter is quite large. I don't always run it fully flat on the ground. I like when there's a bit of tension on the legs, but you can go even flatter with it. If I can do it here. So that would be kind of your setup here. And fully extended, they do get right around to my head height. I'm about 6 feet 2 inches, so that 6.5 foot mark I think is where they get up to. Fully extended here, so almost at my head height. You can adjust the legs to get a little bit more height out of it. There's times where we'll make the legs a little shorter so the whole stand raises up, but quite useful for a lot of the work we do on travel shoots. And this is the stand where I could still mount that boom pole on. It will lean a bit. The stand will have a bit of a funny flex to it once there's a light on it, but that's where we can counterbalance it. It's very safe in terms of tipping potential. It's not gonna tip over, it's just gonna bend a lot. Certainly the best solution would be using like a C-stand or a more appropriate stand, but on travel shoots, we have to make compromises at times of what's something that we can travel with that's still gonna be safe enough on set. Maybe not the ideal solution, but still works well. If you're looking for links to the equipment we used in this video, check out the description below and give us a like and subscribe. We'd love to share more content with you around the equipment we use on travel shoots, lighting breakdowns, behind the scenes content, and more.